Hey guys, I'm Brian.
And I'm Terry.
Welcome back to another episode in our Forest to Farm series here on Survival Dispatch. Today, we're taking you through one of the first steps getting ready to build, and that is getting our footings prepped. So we've got to get our grade stakes set.
Yep, definitely. And we're perfectionists, but I'm really a perfectionist. I want everything exactly right. There's no way you're going to get concrete poured out on the ground and have it exactly right.
No.
If you build a form and you drag along and you get that form perfect, you could probably do it. But if you're going to dig holes and put stakes in the ground, I don't care how perfectly level them stakes are, it's not going to be perfect. It's concrete poured out on the dirt.
And there's different methods for getting your concrete perfectly level. We decided to go with grade stakes, which is we stuck a 1/2 inch or number 4 rebar, a 20-inch long stake in the ground and drove it in the ground and got them all the height we wanted the concrete to be.
Exactly. And we've talked to several people who have done concrete their entire lives and put hundreds, maybe thousands of footers in and tens of thousands of grade stakes in. Rebar grade stakes driven in the ground that are going to be in the concrete. For one thing, they're not touching the rebar in the footer.
No.
They're just coming up in the center. Well, I could drill a hole every 6 foot, 1/2 inch hole and not affect that footer. And if that rebar did rust out, it wouldn't be a big deal.
No.
But this property's been here, owned by the same family since the 1700s. And they must have had it surveyed sometime in the, I don't know, 20s, 30s, 40s, somewhere in there.
Been a long time.
I mean, they've got like old axle as one of the pins.
Literally
it's
on the print. It says old axle for this corner marker.
Yeah, and there's just random things. There's 1/4 inch rebar that's been in here for probably 50 years or better.
At least.
And that's conservatively. And there's 1/2 inch rebar. It's still good, and it's exposed every day out in the weather. If it does rust out, people have given us a hard time about that. It's going to rust out, it's going to break your foundation. It's not going to hurt anything if it did.
No.
There was actually a study done, and I'm not sure about the college, but one of the guys we talked to said that he kept getting into it with people about that, and he said there was a study on it, and they said that it would take about 430 something years for that rebar to rust out.
Matters. The house will not be here.
Yeah.
So
not a big deal.
Grade stakes are not an issue. This is a very common method, and it's very simple, very effective, and very inexpensive to do. And it's quick and easy. Everybody
that does footers that we know, builders and concrete guys and whatnot, every single one of them said this will be always done.
Yep.
Always done.
So we hope you guys enjoy this video. We're going to take you through the details and process for installing these grade stakes. Enjoy, guys. We are using 1/2 inch rebar, and we're just putting one of these in every corner and every intersection, and then between those points on corners or intersections or whatever, we're doing roughly 6 feet apart depending on what our spacing is, what it allows.
Yeah, and we're using our transit again, and we'll show you that in a bit, and getting these things all to the exact same height at whatever particular level we're at, and then driving them down to the precisely the same height.
That way when we rake across with a rake to level it out, when we scrape across the top of this rebar, we're at the proper level.
Yeah. And we'll mark the ground where these are at so that we can find them when we want to see are we right at the right level. We'll look on that mark that crosses the hole.
We'll spray paint across the dirt next to it on either side. That way we can always find the location of where these are, no matter if they're covered up or not.
Yeah, just tap and say, okay, we're good, or we're a little bit high, drag it down.
Yep.
You'll know if you're low because you'll see the stake.
Yeah, exactly. So that's enough yapping. Let's show you how we're doing this.
Do it. All right, we've already got these stakes laid out. We measured from one corner to the next, and we dropped every 6 feet. It was actually a little bit less than 6 feet. When we measured it, it came out less than a 6 foot increment, so we divided it up to where we got equal spacing. 5, 6 feet somewhere in there is good. You just want to get somewhere where you can find what level you are, within 6 feet or less, I'd say. We started out, we'd come in here and I'd start these things in the ground, and I'd get them down a ways to where I felt like I was a good ways above. I didn't want to go too low, because then if you pull it up, you're going to have it loose and it's going to drop back down in a hole. So you want to try and get to the point you want it to be and stop. Well, Brian had put the transit stick on here, and he'd say, you're still high, and I'd tap it down a little. Still high, tap it down a little. And man, we went forever. So, Brian, bring that over here if you would. So he keeps it level up there. I slide this down, and that is about 11 3/4. So now on my stick rule here, so now I can look at my stake and just keep driving it down until I'm really close. I might stop at 12 or just a little under, knowing that 11 3/4 is about the right height. Now I'm not tapping it down for 3 or 4 inches until we get there. And now I'm tapping it down 1/4 inch or something. So it goes so much faster. A little high?
A little high still. A little high, just a little bit. We are spot on.
On the money. And there you have it. Man, that saves so much time. That stick rule, just hold it up there, bang, 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 I'm close. We'll go with it. Okay, that was only about 9 1/4.
Okay, a little more. Hold on. That is on.
All right.
And guys, one thing I want to mention, when you're using one of these grade stakes with the Transit, a big thing to remember is when you set this thing on the ground, this thing never touches the ground with the bottom. I'll always set it on my boot. And the reason is you will pick up debris, especially if it's wet out, and any moisture is going to gather dirt and debris and whatnot. And you don't think about it, but you're adding millimeters to your height, which over time, the more you build up, before you know it, if it's a really wet day, you can have a 1/2 inch of mud stuck to the bottom of the stick and not know.
You can stick it down one time. If it's red clay, it'll stick on there and be a big old clump.
So you'll have a pile of mud throwing off all your measurements. So this thing never touches the ground. It only touches the top of my boot. And also when you're doing this, you've always got to make sure to check your bubble level up top when you're checking the level down here, because if I lean it a little bit one way or the other, it thinks it's further or closer, which means it's higher or lower.
Yeah, because you're tilting it downhill.
Yeah.
And
makes a big difference. If I'm tilting too far, it throws it completely off. So you've got to make sure that bubble is dead center.
We had a couple stakes that were like a 1/2 inch off, and apparently we were both tired. It was hot that day, and you were probably leaning and weren't looking at the bubble. And, and then we came back, we're like, crap, we got to pull these out of the ground and start over.
So always make sure your bubble level is centered.
Yeah. Well, that's all there is to it. It's not rocket science. You know, you're just trying to get a fairly level concrete.
Yeah.
It's not got to be perfect. I mean, the brick masons are going to put mortar and it's going to adjust, but you want to get it close.
Yeah.
Having this stick rule really sped things up.
It really expedited the process.
Each stake, I would say a 1/4 of the time or less, because once you figure out what that depth is, then you can just drive that stake and watch that rule. And when it gets close, you stop.
We don't have to check every couple inches when he's 2 or 3 inches high. He knows exactly within a 1/2 inch where to go.
Yeah, and if you think, well, I can just drive it down some if I know it's a lot, well, it don't work out that way.
We tried that a few times, and we overshot it and had to pull the stakes.
Yeah, well, someone who does it a lot probably. You know. Another good thing, I was on my knees driving them stakes.
I kept telling him, get the knee pad, get the knee pad. He's like, I'm okay, and he was squatting and hurting, and
I was sitting on my ankles, and my feet hurt last night or the night before, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, the knee pad really helps.
Foam knee pad, definitely.
Definitely, this is an easy process. I mean, anybody can do it. Transit, stick rule, and knee pad are huge helps. You got to have a Transit to get this stuff right.
Right. And, you know, a lot of this kind of stuff, we've got a lot of tools. We do a lot of different stuff. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, you know, you might be better off paying somebody if you're never going to use these tools again.
Yeah.
For us, we've got a barn to build. We've got a shop to build. We want to put a lake out here. There's going to be some other grading.
All kinds of stuff. This is a very useful tool that we're going to use a lot until it breaks, and then we'll buy another one.
Right, and it's not going to break because we take care of stuff.
Right. Oh, another thing. On the grade stakes, there is another method that a lot of people do, and that is drive nails in at the depth that they want in the sidewall. Well, they actually did that when they did this process the first time when they dug it out, but we came to find that those nails, one, fell out because the sidewalls got so crumbly from all the rain we had. Additionally, if you bump them, they get knocked crooked, and they're not a surefire method.
They come loose really easy. So if you're in there using a rake to move concrete, and you bump them, they're coming out.
Yeah,
you know,
this rebar is in there solid. That's why we went with a 20-inch stake, and that's going to make all the difference in the world because it is a very secure method throughout the entire footing.
Costs a lot more than a box of nails.
Yeah,
but
for those of you wondering, we've got about $375 each, including delivery of the rebar to our house. So it's about $750 for both footings for all the rebar grade stakes and the rebar going in the footing.
Yeah, and we're going to do a rebar all the way through the footing, and that's included, including the chairs that you set it on that hold it up off the ground.
Yeah,
and the wire to tie it.
Yep. So you know, that's not that bad considering you are reinforcing your concrete tremendously with that rebar. We're doing a double run of 1/2-inch number 4 rebar throughout both our footings.
Right. We required a 12-inch by 6-inch.
No rebar footing.
And no rebar. So we're way overkill just with the concrete. And now we're adding rebar. But
we know there were stump holes out here. It's been 2 years since those stumps were dug up, roughly.
Or more.
Yeah. So we don't know exactly where those big stumps were. This helps reassure the fact that their concrete won't necessarily break in half.
Yeah, where those holes are. But everything's solid. I mean, it's all solid.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Finding out about using a stick rule to get that stuff at the right depth really sped things up. You might not want to do it. For us, it worked, you know.
Saved us from overshooting a lot.
Oh, yeah, we're rookies, so.
Gets the job done.
Definitely.
Check back soon. Coming up, we'll be showing you our process for installing the rebar in the footers, and it's, again, it's pretty easy. It's just bending metal and sticking it in the ground.
Right, and we're not necessarily doing it professional way. We're getting it done. We're using a conduit bender for part of it. We had a guy tell us on our Forest Farm channel that he would bend pipe, stick it between the bumper of his truck.
He had an old school truck.
And the trailer hitch, and bend it on the trailer hitch. So,
yeah.
Hey, we get it done.
Yeah. Hey, all you need is something that's stronger than that rebar is. The rebar is really not that strong.
That was a good idea, really. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have anything out there and you got a trailer hitch, you can bend some rebar.
Gets the job done.
Yeah.
Again, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, give us a big thumbs up for a like. Hit that subscribe button below. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Have a good one, guys.
See you next time.